Hey everyone, it's Kai from Cool Collectibles, back again for another review. This time it's the Transformers Masterpiece MP-36 Megatron. And this was a long time coming, and it was a bit of a saga for me to get it. I did pre-order this originally from Ami in Japan at their really cheap pre-order price. But as it happened, I was going to be in the US at the time it released, and I was a bit paranoid about Australian customs and so on, and seizing the figure, as they did seize figures like MP5 back in the day. So I ended up cancelling my pre-order from Ami and hoping I'd get it from somewhere else just as cheap. But of course, it pretty much sold out everywhere, and I ended up having to get it from my usual place, Robot Kingdom, after I found out that they did have the collector coin that you see there. So they have brought the coins back, but after the figure released, the cheapest it was going for was around 190 to 200 US, and that sold out pretty quickly as well. So I ended up getting this from Robot Kingdom for about 220, which is pretty damn expensive when you think about it. But at least it was cheaper than some of the US retailers. But now they did announce a second batch coming in December, back at the, I think, the recommended retail for about 180. So for those who missed out, I guess you can wait until December. But unfortunately, I missed out on the cheap pre-order price. But overall, I am definitely glad that I've got the figure now. Now, this particular video, I've already made the decision. I'm definitely not going to transform this figure, because I will totally screw it up, and I'll probably scratch, and I don't think I'll end up breaking anything on this particular one, but I definitely think I'll scratch something that I'll regret. So I've already made that decision, and I never transformed Apollyon either. So this review really will be focused on a robot mode comparison with Apollyon and MP-36 Megatron. So just to quickly go through all the accessories and so on in the box. So the usual standard big box art from Takara for this line, and I do love the pics and so on of the various accessories and poses and faceplates and so on that you do get with this. So I will show you guys all of that. Now, my biggest gripe that you can probably pick out here, you'll see that the Decepticon insignia there is more of the classic style, but the one that the figure came with is more of a cartoon style. I don't think the one that's on the box is exactly the same that they gave on the figure. But either way, we'll get onto that in a second. I'll get the figure out of the way. Accessories wise, as I was saying before, Robot Kingdom did provide the collector coin. So the packaging is the usual standard throwaway style, which you do have to cut open to get access to the coin. And the coin, I do like the way they've done that, as always, with the metal coin and piece through tyranny. So I'm glad the coins are making a comeback, like they did with Artfire. Came with the instruction manual, and again, I hate the card art. I'm not sure where I got the card. Hold on. Here's the collector card with that same artwork. I really do wish they would have the original sort of museum pose, but not to be. I do hear that some people are trying to customize those, but we'll see how far they go, and I'll decide if I want to get in on that. The swap out chest plate, I think you just pull this up, and then you can slot this on with these slots here, I think. So at least they've given you those options to replicate that scene in the movie where he's pretty much on the verge of shooting Optimus, and then gets pushed over the edge. But I do like that they're giving these particular display options. I'm not sure how many would leave it in that sort of display mode, but the faceplate and the chest plate do give a nice option. It also comes with the key to, I think it's Vector Sigma. There's not much difference to the one that came with the Hasbro MP10 Optimus. If you bought it from the US, I think it came with, I can't remember what it was, that little sphere plus this key. So it's very similar. It's not exactly the same, but the MP-36 version is slightly larger, I would say, and has a more of a gold metallic paint as opposed to the chromed gold. I actually prefer this one, to be honest, but either way, I'm not sure if I'll probably just put that away in storage. The sword is pretty good. It looks okay. I haven't really compared it against the cartoon, but what I might do is grab Apollyon's accessories and give you a side-by-side of that. Hold on. Right, so on the right is MP-36 and on the left is Apollyon. So as you can see, the Apollyon's a little bit more stylized. I think this one probably is. Takara is always leaning towards more cartoon accuracy, and with the plastic there and I guess the paint applications, if you want to call it that, it does look a little nicer. So I would say MP-36 wins for me on the sword. Again with the pistol, MP-36 on the right and Apollyon on the left here, so a bit more of the silver paintwork on the Apollyon version. And again, this one I think might be more cartoon accurate. I actually haven't looked at the movie for a while, but overall they're pretty consistent with each other. The mind control helmets are pretty similar, but I would say the Takara version has a few more details that make it a little nicer, with the moulding here. But overall, I guess the Apollyon version's got this sort of chromed, almost a metallic purple paint application there. So either way, I think they're both pretty nice. Right, so here is the mace for MP-36 on the right, and the sphere itself I think is better and looks nicer. But I do like the Apollyon silver chain, which probably isn't a cartoon accurate either, but it does have a nice feel to it. Whereas the Takara version has just got the plastic chain there, but the Takara version does come with a swap out sort of articulated piece, where if you want it to be in a bit of motion, you can have that articulated to hold the ball, whereas this one you can use to sort of, I guess, give a semblance of weight to the mace itself. So overall both are pretty good. Alright, the last bit to compare would be the rifle extension accessories with the stock, I think it's called, and the silencer. So the stock, or the back part, I would actually say the Apollyon version is more reminiscent of the G1 toy, with the way that it's got the glossy black plastic and the moulding and so on, whereas the Takara is probably more accurate to the gun perhaps, but it does have the die cast in this section here that you can fold out. But it's pretty bare minimal. There's no, I think it might have a, I don't know if that's a paint application or if it's just a grey metallic plastic, but it doesn't have that G1 look, but it does have, I guess, a bit of heft to it and probably accuracy to the actual gun. The silencer, again, is pretty similar, with the MP-36 version being a bit more grey as opposed to the classic toy glossy black. So overall I would say the style of the MP-36 I prefer, but if it was in a glossy black, I think it might pop a bit better on display or something like that. So overall pretty much the same stuff, but I don't think one wins over the other. One accessory that the Apollyon does not have is swap out head sculpts. Now this is where Takara have really started doing these options on their MP figures. So with Megatron here, you actually get the angry screaming face, you get the standard stoic face, the cracked face, and the laughing face. Now overall they're all very well done, and the swap out is pretty easy. You pretty much just slide this section up over his head, if I can do that, and that reveals a bit of nice details there from the movie itself, from when he's being converted from into Galvatron, I think, in the movie. So that's a nice bit of detail there by Takara. And the faceplates themselves are pretty nicely done and painted. They all have the nice glossy red eyes. There are a few paint flaws on mine, which you can only really see up close. So you'll see some of the corners there, just on the tip of the nose and the tip of the cheek there, have a bit of paint chipped away. But overall, they do look pretty damn good. Oops, sorry about the focus there. But I'll get onto the main comparison between the figures themselves, and when I show you that, I think it'll be clearly obvious to everyone that I do prefer the MP-36 mold. Right, so here is MP Megatron on the left and Apollyon on the right, and after I took them out of the box and I saw both in hand, there was without a doubt in my mind that the new MP Megatron is the definitive Megatron to have from all the official and third-party options out there. Now, I guess I was worried originally about the paint application, with Apollyon being, I guess, the traditional, very highly chromed look of Megatron there, and the prototype photos of the MP Megatron looked like it was almost all just grey plastic. And I guess, you know, there were a lot of complaints about Shockwave being very much a plastic figure with very little paint application, but thankfully all of this grey on Megatron is actually painted with a subtle metallic sheen finish, which in hand I think looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm definitely glad they did not go with the sort of really high gloss chromed look, because I think that style, this design with that sort of paint application would be almost a bit too over the top, and I think it would drown out a lot of the details as well. So definitely glad they went with that look. The only fault that I can really nitpick on the bot mode for Megatron for me is this center seam on the crotch, which almost gives him a bit of a camel toe look to him, to be honest. That was my original thought, and I still think that, but that's probably the only design nitpick that I can have for the particular figure. With Apollyon, the hips themselves are definitely too wide, and the legs probably a little too thin. I think the Takara designers did a perfect job of being able to collapse these legs in the alt mode, but having that nice sort of flaring out at the ankles, coming up to a thin thigh. So I think they made the perfect design aesthetic decision there. Now, from all different angles, I think particularly the side profile, you'll see that the MP Megatron just has that perfect Megatron sort of profile that you see in, you know, the cartoon, in comics, everywhere else. That just the way the legs look, the way his stance is, and the body proportions is pretty much perfect for me. People complain that the legs were too long, but I don't think they're too long at all, and they just have that great, I guess, you know, that's the standard sort of Japanese anime style, where the legs are normally long with probably a broader chest. So I think they've captured that perfectly. The feet as well, I love the way the die-cast feet here look, which is more reminiscent of the cartoon, whereas the Apollyon feet are a little bit unsightly. Now I guess the biggest difference as well along the legs, you'll see the inside of MP Megatron's legs are beautifully flush and clean and grey, just like they were in the cartoon, whereas Apollyon's here, it almost looks like it's an unfinished transformation, to be honest. There are a lot of loose parts flipping around, like this particular piece here. So overall, I think the Megatron design is much better. From the rear, I guess not many collectors display their figures from the rear, but there's always a lot of comments about how figures look from the back with the kibble and so on. Now I guess the Apollyon figure probably doesn't look too bad. It looks fairly clean, particularly with that chest piece there that doesn't really transform too much. But with the Megatron here, because of all the folding parts, he does look a little bit unsightly at the back there, but everything folds away fairly nicely in profile, and the hips and the legs at the back look far better, I think, than Apollyon does. I guess the other thing is the size of the fusion cannon. The size of the Apollyon is definitely a bit too large, particularly in bot mode. And as you can see, he is a little bit unstable, whereas MP Megatron here is perfectly stable on those joints. So you'll see the fusion cannon. I think the way they've designed the fusion cannon for bot mode is perfectly sized, and you can extend this section at the front here in the gun mode to fit that sort of scale. So overall, I think for me, MP Megatron is without a doubt the definitive Megatron across all of the official and third-party release options. The head sculpt as well, I guess, which I haven't touched on. Apollyon, yeah, did a pretty good job. It was probably one of the best for me from the third-party options. But as you can see there, sort of drowns out the detail in the mouth. The eyes aren't that great. But for Megatron here, I think they captured the cartoon and the various expressions pretty much perfectly. And as you can see, oh, my other nitpick, I think, as you can see, I've got the special decals, the official decals, with a clear backed option for mine, so the metallic finish sort of shines through. And I do like that more traditional style, whereas the official version here has more of a squished cartoon look, and mine does have a bit of a blemish with that white scratch on it. So what I might do is I might try and figure out a safe way to scratch that off and apply one of these onto the official Megatron figure. So I do like that, and I do have a couple spare of those, I think, in the drawer, so I'll definitely be doing that. But other than from the aesthetics, I'll just quickly go through my thoughts on the articulation as well. Alright, articulation wise, the biggest gripe for me for Apollyon was the arms. Now the X-Transbot designers were pretty much up front when they released the figure, saying that they went with the design decision to mimic the MP-8 Grimlock design for the arms, where they're on ball joints and essentially are free flowing and moving arms on those ball joints. And originally the figure had ball joints that were far too loose, and so he could not lift his arm to hold the weight of the fusion cannon. So what they did was they shipped out replacement shoulder joints, and then in future batches they just included them as well. So I've actually got the improved shoulder joints in there, so you'll see that it does hold the weight now. But that design, I think, still limits articulation and movement, so you can't really raise his arm to the side that far. And I think there's still some sort of stability issues overall, and they might loosen over time. So the arms weren't the best for me, but for MP Megatron, everything from the arms, the knees, the hips are on beautifully moving ratchets. So the arms here, so that sound is like joy to Transformers fans' ears. So I love that way that you can pretty much click it into any position you want. You can rotate it all the way out like that, which you can't do on Apollyon. And so those ratchets are just beautiful. And then you can rotate and butterfly his arm out to the front as well. So you can get him in sort of the poses where his hands are closer towards the body. So I think the way they've designed that for all of those options are just an outstanding design on Takara's part there, so I can't complain about that at all. There is a bit of rotation movement in the waist, and I think there is an ab crunch as well, as you can see there like that. So I think they've catered for pretty much everything. The legs are on heavy ratchets as well. Right, so with Apollyon, I've barely moved him, but I think they're on much softer ratchets as well, but the legs do feel a little bit heavier, and he just doesn't have the same sort of stability that MP-36 does. Now I think with the feet here, I think it's this heel joint that contributes to the instability, so it does sort of tilt back and forth, and if you don't have the weight properly set on it, it will collapse backwards, I think. So just be very careful when you pose your Apollyon. And I think articulation wise, that's pretty much it. I think with I do love the ankle rocking motion here, so you get a lot of range of motion with Megatron. You could have him in a very wide stance and still have his feet flat on the ground. So I think they've catered for pretty much everything that a collector would want in the articulation for Megatron. The only thing that, now that I'm just moving him around, the only thing that sort of annoys me is this fusion, or this front part of the pistol here keeps sort of swinging around. So I'm not sure if there's meant to be a way to clip that in, but it doesn't seem to clip in very well on mine. So I'm not sure if that's a common problem, but I might ask around about that. But it just seems to flop around like that. So that's probably a little bit disappointing, but on display I think it sits fairly flush, so it's not too big a problem there. So that is pretty much it regarding my thoughts on MP-36 Megatron. As I was saying before, I'm definitely not going to transform him. There are some great videos on YouTube with the transformation. I did stumble across a fellow Aussie collector who apparently lives in Japan, but he did a video, I think his channel, I can't remember offhand what his channel was called, 86 or something like that. I'll put a link to his video in the description of my video here, because he does a beautiful, slow, steady, and very detailed transformation of Megatron from robot to gun mode. So if you do want to follow that transformation, that'll have all the ins and outs of how to do it. So click through in the description if you want to check out the transformation. But I definitely won't be sweating for an hour trying to do it myself, because I suck at transformations. So that is pretty much my thoughts on MP-36. It's been a long time coming. I will be taking quite a few pictures of him and the rest of the Decepticon gang, so head over to the Facebook page and check out the photos when you can. I should have them up sometime this weekend. So that's pretty much it. The next MP Transformer review will probably be Sunstreaker, I think. I think that's the next one off the ranks. So if that comes out in November and December, that'll be a great end to the year. So hopefully you can subscribe and stick around for that. And I do have a whole bunch of other 1/6 scale and action figure reviews coming up as well. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. Bye.